You know what's worse than silence? Being silenced. And that's exactly where Caitlin Clark finds herself right now. Not just injured, not just exhausted, but boxed in. By a league that's happy to cash in on her fame, but seemingly allergic to protecting her. By a system that expects her to smile through bruises and stay quiet through blatant disrespect. And now, according to multiple reports and growing whispers, by a league that's issued a shocking ultimatum. Toe the line, or risk being pushed to the margins. And Caitlin? She's had it.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Let's be clear from the jump. This isn't just about basketball anymore. It's not about missed layups or defensive switches. This is about power, protection, and the very soul of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark's rookie season should have been a coronation. A record-breaking, genre-shifting, ratings-bursting moment in time. And in a way, it was. Ticket sales? Unprecedented. TV ratings? Sky high. Jersey sales? She led the league within weeks of stepping on the court. She brought in new fans. Young girls. Families. People who hadn't watched a WNBA game in years suddenly cared. Because Caitlin Clark brought hope. She brought attention. And she did it all while playing unselfish, team-first basketball for an Indiana Fever squad that hadn't sniffed relevance in a decade. But behind the smiles, behind the applause, behind the highlight reels, there was a war going on, and it was waged on her body. From the very beginning, the physical targeting was relentless. We're not talking about tough defense. We're talking intentional hits, off-ball slams, cheap shots. And not just one or two. Game after game, player after player, Caitlin became a magnet for contact. By mid-season, she had absorbed 17% of all flagrant fouls in the WNBA. Let that sink in. One rookie, on one team, taking nearly a fifth of the league's most dangerous fouls. And yet, the whistles barely came. The league stayed quiet. The refs turned blind. And the players? Some didn't just ignore it. They justified it. Claimed she needed to be humbled. That she was just another rookie. That she hadn't earned it yet. Except she had. She earned it when she broke scoring records in college. She earned it when she chose to play for a struggling franchise instead of hiding behind a super team. She earned it every time she got up from the hardwood after being blindsided, shoved, grabbed, and smacked, without a single whistle in sight. But instead of protection, she got silence. And then came the noise. Suddenly, Caitlin wasn't just a rookie. She was controversial. She was divisive. She was the lightning rod for an identity crisis the league had been dodging for years. And yes, race became part of the conversation. When Aya Wilson, a face of the WNBA and one of the most respected players in the game, admitted point-blank that race played a role in the way Caitlin was received by fans and the media, it cracked the conversation wide open. Some players felt Caitlin was being overhyped. Others felt she was being targeted. The league? It felt stuck. Because here was its biggest draw, its most marketable player in decades. And instead of lifting her up, they left her to fend for herself in a political and cultural minefield. All while the hits kept coming. All while the referees stood still. All while the league kept cashing the checks. And now, according to insiders, after weeks of controversy, media firestorms, political op-eds, and growing legal noise behind the scenes, the WNBA allegedly approached Caitlin with a chilling message. Tone it down. Don't speak out. Let us handle it. Only, they weren't handling anything. So Caitlin Clark finally broke her silence. In a brief but searing interview this week, Caitlin didn't hold back. She didn't shout. She didn't rage. But her words? They landed like punches. I've taken a lot of hits, she said. Some physical, some emotional. I've stayed quiet because I thought that was what leaders do. But silence hasn't helped. It's only made it easier for people to act like it's okay. Read that again. She's not just talking about fouls. She's talking about the system. She continued, I love this game. I love this league. But loving something doesn't mean ignoring its flaws. I shouldn't have to choose between being a competitor and being respected. Between being tough and being safe. That wasn't just an interview. That was a line in the sand. And it's got the WNBA scrambling. Because this isn't just about one player anymore. Caitlyn's story has become a mirror, one that's reflecting every uncomfortable truth the league has tried to dress up in glossy promos and TikTok clips. The favoritism, the politics, the power dynamics, the silencing of players when their experiences don't align with the league's brand image. And now, the world is watching. Lawmakers have started asking questions. Analysts are calling out the officiating double standards. Fans are pushing back against the narrative that this is just rookie growing pains. And her teammates? They've had enough too. Sophie Cunningham, in a bold post-game interview, didn't hold back. They didn't protect her. And now she's out, she said. We talk about growing the game. But how can we grow if we let the brightest stars get knocked down while everyone looks the other way? And yet, some still want Caitlyn to shut up and dribble, to be quiet, to be grateful, to be marketable but not messy. Well, that version of Caitlyn Clark is gone. She's seen too much now, taken too many hits, lost too many games because the whistles never came. And she knows that if she doesn't speak now, it'll happen again. To another rookie, to another star, to another player who isn't deemed tough enough to deserve fair treatment. So what happens next? Honestly, no one knows. The league is on its heels. Public pressure is mounting. Social media is boiling over. Fans are picking sides. And Caitlyn Clark? She's become the center of a much bigger fight. A fight about race. A fight about power. A fight about what the WNBA wants to be in this new, high-stakes era. Because it can't have it both ways. It can't celebrate its stars while letting them get beaten down. It can't preach empowerment while telling its most impactful players to stay quiet. It can't ride the Caitlyn Clark wave while refusing to protect her in the water. So here we are, the league in chaos. The fans divided, the players watching closely. And Caitlyn Clark, injured, frustrated, but unapologetically vocal, is standing at the center of it all. She didn't ask to be the symbol of this movement. But now that she's here, she's not backing down. And neither are we. Let's not pretend this is just a rookie adjustment period anymore. That tired excuse has been used, chewed up, and spit out so many times, it should have been retired halfway through the first month of the season. Caitlyn Clark's journey hasn't been a learning curve. It's been a crash course in survival. And now, with this reported league ultimatum hovering like a storm cloud over her, we're not just watching a rookie season. We're watching a reckoning. Because here's the thing. You can only ask someone to stay quiet, to play nice, to take the hits and smile for the cameras so many times before they snap. And Caitlyn? She's snapping in the only way she knows how. Through carefully chosen words, long stares on the bench, and the kind of quiet fury that doesn't scream, but radiates. You can feel it. Every time she laces up her sneakers. Every time she watches a teammate take the same hits she once took. Every time the whistle doesn't blow. This isn't the energy of a frustrated player. This is the energy of someone who's tired of pretending. And you know what makes it worse? She didn't start this fire. The league did. They marketed her as the savior, the golden girl, the one who would bring in viewers, sponsors, money, media, relevance. And she delivered. My God, did she deliver. Sold out arenas. Double-digit ratings bumps. People who had never watched a WNBA game in their lives suddenly had fever merch in their carts. But when it came time to protect her, to make sure she wasn't being used as a glorified punching bag in front of millions, the league vanished. And then, when she finally opened her mouth, gently, respectfully, to speak her truth, that's when the pushback started. Behind the scenes, through whispers, through power plays. That shocking ultimatum wasn't just about her words. It was about her existence as a disruptor. Because Caitlyn Clark doesn't fit neatly into the WNBA's box. She's not the kind of rookie who waits her turn and nods politely. She's not just there to clap and take notes from the veterans. She's confident. She knows she belongs. And that confidence? It's threatening. Especially in a league that for years has asked its players to earn respect quietly, to accept the grind, to suffer the disrespect, and only speak once they've been given permission. But Caitlyn? She didn't wait for permission. She brought her own platform. And now the league is scrambling to figure out what to do with it. Because she's not just a player. They've made her a symbol. A symbol of what the WNBA could be. or what it refuses to become. And with every game missed, every hard foul replayed in slow motion, every passive-aggressive quote from anonymous veterans, the debate gets louder. Is Caitlin Clark too big for the league, or is the league too small for her? And I'm not talking about skill. I'm talking about vision, about whether the league can actually grow into the spotlight it begged for, or whether it'll crumble under the pressure of its own contradictions. Let's talk about that contradiction for a second. The WNBA wants growth, exposure, fans, and Caitlin brought all that in spades. But growth means change. It means new voices, new challenges, new systems of accountability. You can't chase the money without welcoming the momentum. And Caitlin is the momentum. So when she finally spoke out, when she said, in no uncertain terms, that what's happening to her is not okay, she wasn't just defending herself. She was opening a door for the next rookie, for the next overlooked player, for the next woman who gets told to sit down, stay quiet, and earn it, while everyone else reaps the benefits of her pain. Caitlin Clark is not just playing basketball anymore. She's playing chess in a league that wants her to act like a pawn. But she's already 2 moves ahead. And let's be real, this isn't just about her race, or her fame, or her stat lines. It's about the threat of a new kind of player. One who won't beg for scraps. One who won't let the system chew her up and spit her out. One who understands that she's not lucky to be here. She earned it. And she's not going to apologize for being the center of gravity. What's wild is that it didn't have to be this way. The league could have embraced her fully, protected her, lifted her up alongside its veterans, celebrated her, and held her up as a symbol of what's next. But instead, they stood still while she was dragged through the dirt. And now, they're scared, because she's not smiling for the cameras anymore. She's not brushing it off. She's not dancing around the truth. She's looking directly into the lens and saying, this isn't right, and I won't play along. That's not just powerful. That's dangerous, because the longer she's sidelined, the more time she has to reflect, to think, to plan. And when she returns, because you know she will, it won't just be for highlight reels. It'll be for a statement, to the league, to the refs, to every player who thinks silence is strength. She's coming back with fire. And let me tell you, when that happens, when she steps back on that court, not as a symbol, but as a force, the entire WNBA is going to feel it. Because she's not just fighting for herself anymore. She's fighting for everyone who's been told to sit down and shut up. Everyone who's been bruised, benched, and blamed for speaking out. This isn't Caitlin Clark versus the league. This is Caitlin Clark versus the system. And spoiler? She's not losing. So let the ultimatums come. Let the silence stretch. Let the tension simmer. The league may think they're in control of the narrative. But Caitlin Clark? She's writing a whole new playbook. And when she finally turns the page, we'll all be watching. Because here's the thing nobody at league headquarters wants to admit. They underestimated her. They thought Caitlin Clark would come in wide-eyed and grateful. That she'd be content to show up, play nice, get knocked down a few times, and smile through the bruises. That she'd accept the role they carved out for her. The marketable darling who draws the crowds and does what she's told. But Caitlin Clark didn't come here to be molded. She came here to compete. And once the spotlight faded and the cameras turned away, she was still there, showing up early, grinding through double teams, playing through hits that would have sidelined half the league, and refusing to shrink herself just to keep people comfortable. That's what really broke the system. Not the highlights. Not the record-breaking jersey sales. Not the fans showing up in Caitlin Clark merch like it's a Taylor Swift concert. No. What broke the system was that she didn't fold. She got hit harder than any rookie in recent history. She took flagrant fouls, snubs, slander, and the pressure of being the most-watched player in the league. And she kept playing. She kept producing. And when it became clear that the officials weren't going to protect her, that the league wasn't going to step in, and that some players were clearly gunning for her not just on the court, but off of it, she still didn't lash out. She observed. She waited. She learned. And now, she's speaking, not through a PR-crafted post, not through passive-aggressive quotes, but directly, clear-eyed, firm, and unmistakably herself. And the league is rattled. Because Caitlin Clark's saying, "I'm not okay with this" carries weight. More weight than they were prepared for. Because she's not just a player. She's a movement, a media magnet, a business, a brand, a symbol of what's next for women's sports. She has leverage, and she knows it, which is why this league ultimatum feels so backwards, so tone-deaf, so insecure. You don't try to silence the person responsible for your biggest ratings bump in a decade. You don't muzzle your most talked-about star because she's telling the truth you're too scared to face. And you definitely don't threaten her with backroom ultimatums like she doesn't have half the sports world behind her. Because let's be honest, it's not just WNBA fans watching anymore. It's NBA fans, college fans, media figures, politicians, activists, brands. Everyone has eyes on Caitlin now, not just because of her game, but because of what she represents. A player who refuses to be silent in a system that profits from her pain. And that's not just courageous. That's dangerous for the status quo. Let's rewind for a second, just to hammer this home. This is a rookie who got shoved to the ground more times than the league will admit on record. Took nearly a fifth of the WNBA's flagrant fouls in a single season. Was targeted physically and publicly by players twice her size and 10 years her senior. Was iced out of All-Star voting despite being the most recognizable name in the league. Was told, indirectly, then directly, to stop making waves, stop complaining, stop noticing the injustice. And yet, through it all, she's remained composed. But let's not confuse composure with weakness. Caitlin's silence was never submission. It was strategy. And now, she's flipping the board. She's done playing by the rules that only ever seem to punish her. She's done asking for protection that never comes. She's done waiting for a league that's been profiting off her face while letting her take hit after hit like she's disposable. She's not disposable. She's indispensable. And maybe that's what the league's finally realizing, the hard way. Because if this season ends and Caitlin Clark decides that the WNBA doesn't deserve her, that she can take her talent, her voice, her influence, and her fans elsewhere, what then? What happens when the person they built their marketing campaign around decides she's not interested in being a silent spokesperson for a broken system? What happens when fans, millions of them, start asking the same question Caitlin's been asking since week one? Why is this okay? Why is it okay for a generational talent to be mauled on the court without consequence? Why is it okay for her to be silenced when she speaks up? Why is it okay to protect the league's image while its most promising players are left to fend for themselves? Why is any of this okay? Spoiler alert, it's not. And people are starting to say so loudly. Analysts, sponsors, broadcasters, former players, even fans of rival teams are starting to call out the blatant double standards. Because you don't have to be a Clark superfan to recognize what's happening. You just have to care about fairness, about respect, about accountability. And that's why this ultimatum moment feels like the turning point. Because the league tried to silence the one person it should have been listening to. And now, it's too late. Because Caitlin Clark has already broken the silence. And the rest of us? We're done being quiet too. This isn't just a bad season. This isn't just a missed call or an unfortunate injury. This is exposure of a culture that's been comfortable with selective protection, biased officiating, and uneven power dynamics for too long. And Caitlin Clark, wounded, benched, and fully awake, just became the loudest voice in the room. So what's next? Does the league double down and pretend this will all blow over? Or does it finally take a look in the mirror and do the one thing it's been avoiding since the season began? Change. Because whether they're ready or not, that change is already in motion. Caitlin Clark's silence is broken. And now, nothing will ever be the same.